Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodhanandana Brajana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Brajana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Brajana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Brajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Yasodhanandana Brajana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Brajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Gidari Radha Gidari Radhe Jai Radha Girdhari Radha Girdhari Radhe Prabhupada 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 Srila Prabhupada ke Jayam Vishpad Paramahamsa Pravajikacharya Sotara Sata Shishimade Si Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki. ISKCON founder Acharya Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jayam Vishpad Paramahamsa Pravajikacharya Sotara Sata Shishimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki. Namacharya Srila Das Thakur Ki. Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Rasa Raghunath Shed Goswami Bhagavan Ke Prem Sikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ke Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopal Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhana Ke Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ke Samaveda Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ke Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru, Shri Gauranga. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastai Bale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vicharni Nivishesha Sunwani Paschadistane. Public service announcements first. This is to explain to you, Prabhu, Bhakti Klitas, 3 ways we can lay our bodies down in offering dandavats to the spiritual master, to the supreme personality of Godhead, and to demigods in their temples. Technically, when offering obeisances to the spiritual master, one does it directly facing him, hands spread out, feet behind. But because it's not too practical in almost all the temples because of the kirtan going on, then we offer with dandavats with our left hand towards Srila Prabhupada, as you do with the Supreme Lord on the altar. When you go before the demigods in their temples, then you should turn around and you offer dandavats with the right hand side. So that's the cultural understanding, and thought I would share why we do what we do in that regard. Second thing is, try to enter into the joyfulness of service to the holy names in kirtan. What is our process that Lord Chaitanya has given us? 3 things. Bhakta Tyler. We'll do the other side. Chanting. There you go. Chanting and dancing. If nothing else, with folded hands, I request everyone to at least do the Swami step during kirtan. Because if you move your body, then your mind starts to follow along, absorption in the kirtan. And before you know it, you're swept up in the names and you're off the bodily platform, whatever program, static, etc. The radio of the mind was trying to interfere in the kirtan. So that's a humble request. At least the Swami step. Do, 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 do. Better yet, with arms raised, or at least with hands folded before the Supreme Lord. So those are the public service announcements. Now we get to hear about the activities of the Prachetas from Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Canto, 30th Chapter, Text 49. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chakshushe tu Antare prapte, chakshushe tvantare prapte, praksarge, kala vidurete, Praksarge Kalavidurte Ya Sasarja Praja Ishta Yasasarja Praja Ishta Sa Daksho Daivachoditaha Sa Daksho Daivachoditaha Chakshushe Tvantare Prapte Praksarge Kala Vidrute Yasasarja Praja Ishtaha Sadaksho Daivachoditaha Chakshushe Tvantare Prapte Praksarge Kala Vidrute Yasasarja Praja Ishta Sadaksho Daivachoditaha Chakshuse Tvantare Prapte Praksarge Kala Vidrite Praja Ishta Sadaksho Daivachoditaha Chakshuse Tvantare Prapte Pratsarge Kala Vidrite Yasasarja Praja Ishta Sadaksho Daivachoditaha. Oh, let me ask. Tapas Prabhu. Dandavats Pranams. Is Vijay Krishna Prabhu online with us today?
He's not online right now. Normally he comes around 8:20 because he's in other class.
Okay. Thank you. Chakshushe, name Chakshusha. To but Antare, the Manvantara. Prapte, when it happened. Prak, previous. Sarge, creation. Kala Vidrute, destroyed in due course of time. Yaha, one who. Sasarja, created. Praja, living entities. Ishtaha, desirable. Saha, he. Daksha, take a wild guess. Daksha, Daiva, by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Choditaha, inspired. Translation, his, Daksha's, previous body had been destroyed, but he, the same Daksha, inspired by the Supreme Will, created all the desired living entities in the Chakshusha Manvantara. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 8:17, Sahasra Yuga Parayantam Ahor Yad Brahmano Vidhu Ratrim Yuga Sahasrantam Teho Ratra Vido Janaha. By human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together is the duration of Brahma's one day, and also is the duration of his night. Brahma's one day consists of 1,000 cycles of the 4 yugas, Satya, Treta, Dwapara, and Kali. In that one day there are 14 Manvantaras. And out of these Manvantaras, this Chakshusha Manvantar is the 6th. Now this all may sound a little technical, but this is how the Lord has organized the cyclical time that takes place in this universe and how it is managed, how it's divided up and delegated to different personalities at different times in Lord Brahma's day. So there are 14 Manvantaras. These out of these Manvantaras, this Chakshusha Manvantara is the sixth, and this is when Daksa reappeared the second time, and as the verse says, created all the desired living entities. The various Manus existing in one day of Lord Brahma are as follows. 1. Swayambhuva. 2. Swarojisha. 3. Uttara. 4. Tamasa. 5. Raivata. 6. Chakshusha. This is our Manvantara, the time of our Manu. Vaivashvata. It's the seventh Manvantara, middle of the day for Lord Brahma. 8. Savarni. 9. Daksha Savarni. 10. Brahma Savarni. 11. Dharma Savarni. 12. Rudra Savarni. 13. Deva Savarni. And 14. Indra Savarni. Popular name. Thus there are 14 Manus in one day of Brahma. In a year, there are 5,040 Manus. Brahma has to live for 100 years. Consequently, the total of Manus appearing and disappearing during the life of one Brahma is, you're right there, 504,000. This is the calculation for one universe. And there are innumerable universes. All these Manus come and go simply by the breathing process of Maha Vishnu. In other words, when he exhales, all the universes and all the Brahmas and all the 500,000 Manus in each universe come and go. And when he inhales, then all the living entities are drawn back within his transcendental body. Material nature goes back into itself, the Pradhan. So, as stated in the Brahma Samhita, Yashai Kanishvata Kala Atavalam Yajivanti Loma Vilaja Jagadandanata Vishnur Mahansa Yasya Kalavashesho Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. The word Jagad under Natha means Lord Brahma. There are innumerable Jagad under Nath Brahmas, and thus we can calculate the many Manus. The present age right now is under the control of Vaivasvata Manu. Each Manu lives 4,300,000 years. It's a long time. Now multiply it times 71. All these long lifespans are ultimately ended by the laws of material nature. The controversy of the Daksha Yagya took place in the Swayambhuva Manvantara period. As a result, Daksha was punished by Lord Shiva, but by virtue of his prayers to Lord Shiva, he became eligible to regain his former opulence. According to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Daksha underwent severe penances up to the 5th Manvantara. Thus, at the beginning of the 6th Manvantara, known as the Chakshusha Manvantara, Daksha regained his former opulence by the blessings of Lord Shiva. Might have learned something in that purport. The non-devotees have no clue. I mean, they have no idea what's going on with the universe and how it's controlled. How do you come up with this with some speculative attempt at trying to figure it out from a tiny little dirt clod in the, this planet Earth? Impossible. So we're so fortunate to have this knowledge descending from the Lord himself, from the Vedas, and relayed to us through the disciplic succession. So, if we could say our prayers, please. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swam Rupakadamayam Dadati Swapadandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shiyuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padang Sahagana Lalita Shiva Shakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavanishwari Vrishabhana Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakopatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Padidhanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So if you read in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 20, you will hear the Lord's instructions to Sanatana Goswami, and he lays out the science of the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and all his different expansions, including us separated parts and parcels, vibhinamsas. And basically, I'm not really good at Sanskrit, but it all starts with Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Swayam Bhagavan, the original form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the son of Mother Yasoda, Nanda Maharaj. Now, he expands in unlimited forms in the Vaikuntha planets, in the spiritual kingdom, far beyond this material world. And his original expansion is Balaram. And he's exactly like Krishna in every way, except he's whitish, like a full moon. Krishna's darkish, like a monsoon rain cloud. And then they expand into Chaturvyuha in Mathura Dwarka. So there you have Vasudeva Krishna. Last Sunday evening we talked about Vasudeva Krishna, the immediate expansion. Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. So when Krishna goes to Mathura and then very shortly thereafter transfers all his family members to an island in the sea called Dwarka in the sea, then that's Vasudeva Krishna. Balaram similarly stays in Vraj, in Vrindavan, and he expands as Sankarshan. And they had their two other expansions, Pradyumna and Aniruddha. Children in the family of Krishna. That's how they act. And from them there is another Chaturvyuha that expands 3 times each. So you have 12. And they're the Vishnu forms that we call the names, pray to the names, or repeat the names when we put tilak on. It said they also control the 12 different months of the year. The 12 months of the year are named after them. There's a nice prayer given that one should say when one puts on the tilak. I don't know if everyone says it. What is it? Late Keshavam Dayim Narayanam Todre Vakshasle Madhavam Tu Govinda Kanta Kupike Vishnum Cha Dakshe Kuksha Bahau Cha Madhusudana Trivakram Kandare Tu Vamana Parshake Sridharang Vama Bahau Tu Rishikesham Dikandare Christu cha pamadamam cha kacham damadurnai shake tat prakasham toyam tu vasudeveti murtani. This is recommended by Lord Chaitanya. You chant this prayer while you're making your chandan, your tilak. And then when you put the 12 markings on the body, you're purifying the body, you're protecting the body, you're designating it as the temple of the Lord. And so, Om Keshavaya Namah. I'll just say the names of the 12 expansions of originally Krishna. But Keshava, Narayan, Madhava, Govinda, Vishnu, Madhusudana, Trivikram, Vamana, Sridhar, Rishikesh, Padmanabha, Damodar, Vasudev. Everyone should wear tilak at all times. And if you don't feel comfortable wearing the clay tilak because you're out and about or for whatever reason, a job or this or that, then you should always anoint your body with water tilak. You should never be without tilak, the names of Krishna protecting your body. One time Jayapataka Swami was with his disciples, and he said, and it was amazing. It was the morning, it was like on a safari or something like that. There weren't that many devotees. But he said, somebody hasn't put their water tilak on. The devotee was busted and immediately went and put tilak on. How such pure devotees know these things? Krishna shares. He informs. Prabhupada told us that if you knew how dangerous this material world is, you would never be without neck beads around your neck, Tulsi neck beads. And I'm adding the tilak. He didn't say it in that specific statement, but it's the same thing. We'll take all the protection that the Lord offers us. Okay, we did the 12, then there's 8 more. They describe. How many is that? 20, and then you get 4 more. You get 24. And each of these Vishnu expansions, they had their own spiritual planets. Then you have Narayan. And Narayan expands unlimitedly in all the unlimited Vaikuntha planets. These are all for facilitating the loving reciprocations between the devotees and the Lord. The Lord is so kind. Can't overemphasize that. The Lord is so kind. Then we have the avatars, which the Manvantara Avatars are one category. And all these are the forms of the Lord that expands and or descends into this material world, basically to help us. So the first avatars are the Purush avatars. Mahavishnu, as we mentioned, he expands and enters into each universe. Super soul of the universe, you could say, Garbhodakshai Vishnu, Kshirodakshai Vishnu, in the heart and atom of every living entity within every universe. Then you have your Guna avatars in charge of the modes of material nature, Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu. That would be, see if my mind's going to help me on this one. That would be Kshirodakshai Vishnu. The super soul is the personality who controls the mode of goodness. This is what I'm trying to express. It would either be Kshirodakshai or Garbhodakshai, but my memory serves to say it's Kshirodakshai. Transcendental to the mode of goodness, not affected or touched by it as Brahma and Shiva are by their modes, but these are the 3 Guna avatars. Then you have the Leela avatars. They come and they display activities. Vamana could be an example. So many Leela avatars displaying wonderful, transcendental, eternal activities manifest before the eyes of the conditioned souls. Then you have, what other, you have not just Leela avatars, but what else is there? There's Yuga Avatars. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, although he's Krishna himself, not an avatar expanded from, he's Krishna, but he is categorized as a Yuga Avatar, and they give the Yuga Dharma. Of course, we know the Yuga Dharma for this age is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Then we have the Manus, 14 of them in a day, and they are understood to be partial incarnations. Srila Prabhupada says that. But the actual incarnations that are significant in the reign of each Manu is called a Manvantara Avatar. And if you read this chapter 20, or you go to Laghu Bhagavatamrita by Rupa Goswami, or or Srimad Bhagavatam, 8th canto, then you will hear about the different Manus, and you can hear about the Indras in each Manu. Manus basically help out mankind, and the avatars during the reign of Manus, they help the demigods primarily, defending them against the demons and keeping everything balanced and right. And Prabhupada specifically says, in addition, the Manus themselves are considered partial incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If you have the ability to do a quick read through, it's only a small section discussing the avatars during Manu's reigns, but there's some really interesting information in there about the activities of such avatars. And then you have the Shaktivesh Avatars, those that are empowered, like Narada Muni is a Shaktivesh Avatar, empowered to spread Bhakti. The 4 Kumaras are considered like the empowered personalities for spreading transcendental knowledge, etc. Prithu is empowered to rule or reign. And that's basically it. So that covers most of the purport. And now we come down to Daksa and the Chakshusha Manvantara, the reign of Chakshusha Manu. He's taken birth again. He had to take birth because he didn't become completely absolved of his offense against Lord Shiva. Even though Lord Shiva forgave him, Lord Shiva blessed him, still he had to take birth again because of that offense. This time he didn't take birth as a mental son of Lord Brahma. That's why we heard yesterday. I don't know if you noted it, but he had to take birth in a Kshatriyas, in the family of Kshatriyas, and he had to take birth from a womb of a mother. In his first birth, Lord Brahma mentally conceived him. How powerful Lord Brahma is, empowered by the Lord to engage in the secondary creation. And he has the post of the Prajapatis. Prajapatis are incredibly important in fulfilling the desire of the Lord. He wants us conditioned living entities who've turned our backs to him to be given the opportunity to become reformed and come back home, back to Godhead. So you have to have material bodies in the material universe to be able to do that. So the Prajapatis assist Lord Brahma in his service of creating the planets and species. Very important service. And Daksa, as his name indicates, was expert. Man, was he empowered. In fact, Lord Krishna says that that he and others, the Prajapatis, are expansions of his marginal energy that are incarnations of his various qualities. If you go to the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it's entitled in Sanskrit Vibhuti Yoga, isn't it? And Vibhutis, they are the especially prominent, best of examples of any particular species or category, and as such you understand, oh, that represents Krishna, because Krishna is the best of the best. So Prajapati was like the best Prajapati Daksha was like the best Prajapati. He was super empowered, and he was given such respect by everyone in the universe. They all were happy to go to his yagyas. Oh yeah, big affair. But with that position and that talent or empowerment by the Lord, he became proud and he offended his father-in-law, thinking, oh, he's subordinate to me. I'm the father of his wife. He should be offering respects to me. He didn't realize Lord Shiva, he's offered respects to the Lord within your heart before you've even seen him. He's always offering respects, always meditating upon the Lord. So just because Daksha didn't see him bow down, he took offense. Big mistake. Or as they say in Bengal, big problem. Problem? Big problem. So ultimately he was given a goat's head because Virabhadra ripped his head off with the sacrificial plow, and he didn't last too long with the goat's head. That was a bit much. And interesting, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says he underwent severe austerities from that first Manvantara till the fifth, and I don't know how that would work. I place it before you for your consideration. But he's not embodied, so I don't know how he did his austerities. It'd be nice to read that purport by Vishwanath Chakravarti. There might be more illumination on that particular point. But we go on. The Prachetas have come. Let's backtrack a little. The Prachetas have come out of the giant lake. It's almost as big as a sea. They see the world overrun with trees. They become very angry because they've been given the service to rule over and to increase the population of the world. And you can't increase or have a functioning society without the Vaishyas and agriculture, protection of the cows included. And if all you have is forest, that's not going to work. So they became overwhelmed with anger. They had performed tapasya for 10,000 years underwater, chanting Rudra Gita, the prayers their guru, Lord Shiva, had given them. They were very empowered. And so from their mouth came fire and wind, like a dragon, basically. It was burning all the trees. They were just going to scorch the planet. Start again. In the fourth canto, it says Lord Brahma came and pacified them. In the sixth canto, it says that the presiding deity of the trees came. We heard mention of them, that he came in the fourth canto, and he offered, under the suggestion of Lord Brahma, the daughter of the tree, taken care of by the trees, from Lochan, and that was the society girl, I forget, Kadru, the sage. If you can look it up real quick, we could. Kundu. So anyway, interesting, this heavenly damsel from Indra's planet, she can have a child and she can just leave it in the forest. I mean, that's criminal for a human. But on the heavenly planet, you're not held accountable for sin. You're just getting to enjoy the results of your pious activities for what it's worth. May seem like a long time, but as I've said last class, it's an overrated vacation. Before you know it, your pious credits are spent, your time in that body, that planet is finished, you fall back down to earth planet. But there was no sin for her. She leaves it, and so the presiding deity of the trees nourished her. So that's a hint. So do you have any idea who the presiding deity of the trees is? Soma, the moon god. Doesn't say it in the fourth canto, but in the sixth canto it does. And he comes and he nourished her. It said he put his finger in his mouth, and from his finger came nectar, life-sustaining nectar. Gave the child to be raised in the forest. So he comes when all the trees are being burned, and he preached very nicely to the Prachetas. He said, look, what are you doing? You're the king. You're supposed to be ruling nicely and protecting all the praja, the citizens of your kingdom. And you're killing these trees. They have just as much right to live as anybody else in the kingdom. This is Vedic. rule. This is the responsibility of a leader in Vedic culture. And then he said, and you're supposed to be Vaishnavas. You are Vaishnavas. Why don't you recognize that the Lord is within the heart of the body of these trees just like he is in your body or anyone else's? You have the right to destroy the temple of the Lord? No. He gives one or two other reasons. So they calm down, and then the Soma offers the child as the wife of the Prachetas. And she becomes, what was it, Marisha. She becomes the mother of Daksa. Now there's a point made that I thought was really nice by Srila Prabhupada in one purport. Those who do, so many people do austerities. Practically speaking, you have to do austerity to accomplish anything significant in this world. But you have your Gyanis, your yogis, they perform severe austerities in a spiritual vein, you can say. They're trying to transcend this world. And when something challenges them, some unfulfilled desire, anger can descend upon them just like, what was the example? Like rain from the sky, a sudden shower. Just falling from the sky upon you and overwhelm you. And that's what happened to the Prachetas. But Srila Prabhupada in purport says that the elevated, pure devotees, they don't become overwhelmed by anger like that. He said the result of executing severe austerities in devotional service is one develops the quality of, anybody have any idea? Good guess? Good guess? One develops the quality of forgiveness. And then he quotes that verse by Kapila De Tatiksha Karanika Suradam Sarvadeinam Agyata Shastrucha Shanta, what is it? Sadhunam Sarvabhushanam. That one has to be tolerant, forgiving, if one is going to be compassionate. And we see that. If you're dealing with your own shortcomings and you're all wound up in your own head and your own problems, then how do you let down the walls and extend yourself to others? You don't. So devotees are in their devotional service are supposed to develop this quality. Srila Prabhupada instructs. So we got Daksa. Now he goes, when he's born, he goes and performs severe austerities. This is all in the 6th canto, in some mountain, I forget where. And he chants the Hamsaguya prayers, which are found in the scriptures. They weren't coming from his heart, but fantastic prayers. Man, I read it yesterday and it was just like, wow, these are my favorite prayers. These are unbelievable. Go to the 4th chapter, the 6th canto, Hamsaguya prayers, and read them. You'll be amazed. And the Lord's pleased, and he comes to him. He appears to him personally. He says, I've come to bless you and empower you in your desire. Because it's no easy gig to expand, or to not expand, but to create so many forms, bodies for the conditioned souls. And interestingly enough, the Lord tells Daksa that I'm very pleased with this. This is my desire. You wish the benefit of all living entities. That's my desire also. They have to have bodies to live and learn and hopefully turn around and come back to me in devotional service. So he said, I'm very pleased. I'm going to empower you. And I will empower your descendants. And he said, that's where I quoted, you are a vibhuti of mine. You are empowered. And he said, your life is perfect. This is really interesting. Your life is perfect because the Lord had appeared and was satisfied with his worship and austerities and his desire to do service. But in a few verses later, we get to hear, even though he had the darshan of the Lord, he, to some degree, fell prey to the same kind of pride that he had in his first life. And you fast forward and he offends Narada Muni. Now, if you put yourself in his shoes, you might be able to like, hey, I can, what's that word? I can sympathize. I mean, Daksha, he created species of like men, demigods, animals, birds, insects. I mean, this man's incredible. And then in terms of men, he had 10,000 sons. Narada Muni sees them doing austerities, just like the Prachetas had. And I forgot to say that, of course, he married. The Lord said, I give you this woman. She is particularly fertile, and I empower you to, have, practically speaking, unlimited sexual prowess. Create progeny. And so first batch of children, he has, I don't know what you'd call that, twins, triplets, quadruplets, 10,000 sons. Holy smokes. Sends them off to the forest to perform austerities like he had done so that they can become Prajapatis. Narada Muni comes and says, what are you doing all this austerity for some fruity, mundane activity? Turn this into selfless, desireless, devotional service simply for the pleasure of the Lord, and your life is perfect. They understood. They took it up. They renounced the service their father had intended for them. Really upset. That's a blow. And then he has another batch of sons, 1,000 sons. They go to perform penance, and the same dang thing happens. Narada Muni comes, and he delivers them. You should follow the path, the example set by your elder brothers. That's what human life is for. Complete surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's the highest priority. They recognize and they follow. So now Daksha's lost it. He goes to Narada Muni, he says, you're no sadhu. You're a destroyer of the principles of Dharma. I curse you. You never be able to stay in one place for more than 3 days. Narada Muni had no problem with that because he's on a marathon. As I said, he's the Bhakti Shakti personified of the Lord. He's empowered to make devotees. Prabhajakacharya, that's what he does. He can go anywhere he wants, spiritual or material worlds. So, but he loses it. Man, that's not good. Offending, cursing, another great devotee. So anyway, his solution is, well, this time around I'm not going to have any boys. We're going to have girls. It almost sounds like he's getting tired because he had 60 daughters. And then they were distributed. I say distributed. They were married to different great sages. I won't go into the breakdown of who is what, who was married to whom, rather. But anyway, Lord Krishna Vishnu gave him an interesting benediction when he manifested himself before him after he had performed the austerities and chanted the Hamsaguya prayers for his pleasure. He said that after you give birth to many hundreds and thousands of children, they will also be captivated by my illusory energy and will engage like you in sexual intercourse. Now there was a purport earlier that said you get the darshan of the Lord, an advanced devotee doesn't ask for the ability to engage in sex. That is, there's licit sex and there's licit and illicit sex. And what Prajapati Daksha was doing was not illicit sex by any means. It was dharma. He was highly respected by everyone in the universe. But still, in one sense, sex is the binding agent in this material world. And as Prabhupada says, on a royal highway, even on a royal highway, you can have an accident. So you're playing with fire. And that's what happened to Daksha. Both times. He became proud, and he offended Vaishnavas. There's nothing worse. It's far greater than any sin you could perform, offending those who are dear to the Lord. But anyway, Prabhupada has a wonderful purport where he says the advanced, pure devotees, they would never ask for the ability to have sex. Kardama Muni, he got one of the daughters of Daksha, and he had 9 daughters, and Kapila Deva, an incarnation of the Lord. I'm not mistaken, I think he's also a Leela Avatar. He knew when he prayed to the Lord who appeared before him, I'm sorry, Lord, I'm not completely satisfied, but I have this desire, and I hope you will fulfill it so I can dovetail it in your service. And the Lord was happy with him. Certainly. I've arranged that the daughter of Swayambhuva Manu, the first Manu, will come and I said, daughter. Oh, that's interesting. Because I just got through saying a daughter of Daksha. I'll have to look that up. I got my wires crossed. But no, Devahuti's the daughter of Swayambhuva Manu, isn't it? Yeah, okay. So I misunderstood the purport. Forgive me. So I retract that statement. So anyway, but Kardama Muni, unlike Daksha, he was ready to leave home to take up now Vanaprastha sannyas after having 9 daughters, but the mother said, wait, how can you leave me shelterless? Who's going to instruct me? Who's going to protect me? In Vedic culture, the woman is always sheltered by the husband, cared for by the husband, father, husband, or son. So then he gave her a son. The Lord appeared as his son. So Kardama Muni knew it was a selfless, pure devotional service, but he took it to the Lord, and the Lord was pleased. In the same way with Daksha, he worshipped the Lord, which is the verse, a kama, whether you have no desires whatsoever, kama, sarva kama, or tons of material desires, or the desire for liberation, you should engage in strict devotional service to the Lord for the fulfillment of all your desires. He did that. He pleased the Lord. His desire was fulfilled. And this is a blessing that the Lord gave him. After you give birth to many hundreds and thousands of children, they will also be captivated by my illusory energy and will engage like you in sexual intercourse. But because of my mercy to you and them, they will also be able to give me presentations in devotion. So they never fell into Maya completely. They always engaged in devotional service, and that's the saving grace, as we heard from the pastime of Gajendra. Doesn't matter what status of life. You may have been a sannyasi, you can become a householder if you have to, or, that's not ideal by any stretch, but whatever it takes to continue to engage in devotional service, that's the program. So anyway, I found these things interesting. Lessons: don't offend the devotees, don't become proud, don't think that you are the doer or over-identify with whatever service you have, whatever position you have. They're all just temporary designations being utilized in the devotional service of the Lord. We're aiming for the eternal service of the Lord. That we will achieve when we've transcended the bodily concept and any and all the distractions or attachments in this material world. Even in this life, it's possible, certainly when one goes back home to Godhead. So, also it's worth mentioning, sometimes you see devotees, they have their shortcomings like Daksha did, but the Lord, he was blessed by the Lord. And you never know. If you get the mercy of Guru and Krishna, then despite whatever shortcomings are there, they can beat you to the finish line. You never know. So it's best, as we said, to be tolerant, forgiving, and to appreciate the service and good qualities of others, and don't worry about their dirty laundry. Take care of our own. So in that regard, I will stop. Does anybody have any comments? Yes, Bhakta Prakash.
Thank you for the very wonderful class, Prabhu. So,
Hi, Prabhupada.
Jai Prabhupada. So the question is,
Can you speak a little louder?
the Prachetas, they became angry, right? So do we understand that to be like the desire or the will of the Lord, because they are like very pure devotees?
Yeah, I think it is safe to take that stance.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting how the pure devotees, they don't mind if another pure devotee wants to use them as an example of what not to do, even if they don't deserve the accusation. Last time I spoke on the Prachetas, I spoke on the side of the coin that there was validity to their becoming upset. They had a service to do, and they wanted to do it. So anger can be harnessed in the service of the Lord. But Srila Prabhupada, it's, as I said, it's such a dangerous, sharp, two-edged weapon. And it can cut mercilessly the wielder of the weapon when it's not in the service of the Lord. Anger. But the advanced devotees, their devotional service is not affected when they utilize it in His service.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you very much for that very profound lesson. My question is twofold. You spoke very candidly on the on heaven. Now, I understand that there are other groups, spiritual groups, spiritualists and religious groups, that their primary goal is heaven, right? And then there was the other aspect that you spoke candidly of, when you can go to heaven, but in the end you return to the earth. Now, my question is, when one returns to the earth, does he descend and back into the body form, or does he take form in the 8.4 million species, different species?
Yeah, according to the canon of Vedic knowledge, did I use that properly? The heavenly planets are within the material universe, as are the hellish planets. Both are very much a reality. And no one is damned to hell forever, and you don't get to stay in heaven forever. Even if you're in Brahmaloka is far superior to the heavenly planets, the highest planet in the universe. And when the universe comes to an end, when it's time for Maha Vishnu to inhale, then all these planets are dissolved, destroyed. What to speak of the inhabitants who lived on them. So, yeah, we're very fortunate. According to the capacity of the ability to understand, and the Lord and His representatives give encouragement and knowledge that will be applicable and applicable by the people receiving it. But the essence is the same. If you go for the essence, then you will, if you develop love for God, as it said, with all your life and soul, your heart and soul, love man, follow the golden rule or Jesus' teachings, the essence of that religion, then you'll transcend heaven. Sometimes it's said, one place in the purport said, those who are followers of Jesus Christ who please Him, they will go to the planet where He came from, a higher planet than heaven. There are planets, 5 upper planets, Brahmaloka being the highest, but the sages often will come down on behalf of the Lord and propagate God consciousness among people of the earth. So Prabhupada in one purport said Jesus was from one of those planets. And he said they can go to the planet of Jesus and there be further trained up to go back to Vaikuntha or to Goloka, the spiritual kingdom. So that's there. And the second question was, how do you return when you lose the demigod body? Very interesting. That soul enters into rain. The rain enters into grain. The grain is eaten by animals, cows, for example. The milk is drank. and the soul enters into the semen of a father and then placed into the womb of a woman. This is one example given how the soul comes down from the heavenly planets. There are exceptions where you come down and, may take human birth, but, it's a complicated process, this universe. It's actually inconceivable. We have no clue unless we take shelter and advantage of the spiritual knowledge given in our scriptures. Thank you. Prabhu.
I can't remember. Maybe this was stated in Bhagavatam and I just don't remember, but you mentioned how Daksha, when he had the goat head after the whole fiasco in Svayambhava Manvantara, then he didn't keep that very long. I don't remember. How did that end? How did Daksha end up?
It doesn't really say, but he would leave the body, give up the body. Okay.
And this isn't so substantial, but one devotee had mentioned, like some years ago, something he said that it was stated that Daksha is still, like, roaming around. And I thought, and he was comparing that to, like, Baphomet or something like that, like the goat head kind of satanic thing.
Yeah, when you started talking about the goat's head, I thought, just think how it's not uncommon. Christians, they go on this path. Anything with a goat's head is satanic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I don't know how auspicious you would consider having a goat's head. I guess it's better than being headless and not alive. That would be a little inconvenient. I mean, or what to speak if he were alive, but no, he's anything but satanic. So and roaming around, and
yeah.
If anything, that sounds almost like Ashvatthama roaming in the Himalayas doing penances, and he will become the next Indra.
That's kind of how it was presented.
No, I'm sorry, next Vyasa day.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes,
We have a question from Vijay Prabhu. Can you go ahead?
I was hoping that you would feel encouraged. Yes, Prabhu, how can we serve you?
Prabhu, in the purport, according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Daksha underwent severe penances up to the 5th Manvantara, end quote. So my question is, why is it that Vedic civilization recommends the observance of tapasya in order for human beings to achieve success in life?
Why is it recommended that we engage in tapasya to achieve success in human life? Is that what you asked?
Yes, that is my question, please.
Lord Krishna, in the very beginning with Lord Brahma realized he had the service of engaging in the secondary creation in this universe, and he felt himself incapable to do so. He needed help. And so the Lord instructed him to engage in austerity. And after having engaged in austerity, the Lord came and thanked him, praised him, blessed him, and said that this austerity is my own very self. It is my divine energy. When utilized in devotional service, it's part of the Bhakti Shakti. So the very first created person in this world set that example, and then Lord Rishabdev, in the 5th canto, when teaching his 100 sons, Lord Rishabdev, of course, being a incarnation of the Lord, an avatar, he instructed that you have to engage in divine austerities in order to enter into the transcendental bliss of devotional service. It's necessary. I've said it before, but I love the one-liner. An easygoing life and Krishna consciousness do not go well together. We at Srila Prabhupada in Lord Chaitanya's movement have made our austerities so minimum. The foundation of them are chant minimum 16 rounds and follow the 4 regulated principles. Get up early and worship the spiritual master and the Lord, etc. at home or in the temple, wherever one is, and follow the process. To some people, evidently, it's an austerity to attend Srimad Bhagavatam classes or Guru Puja or what have you. But these are the recommended processes. They're necessary. Why do we say that? Because one, the spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya, has recommended. And two, that's what the Paramahamsas do. Everything we do is basically following the footsteps of the Paramahamsas, the Mahajans. Devotional austerity is absolutely necessary. One, the first thing is it breaks the tie of attachments to material, illusory energy, and that from that platform you can become attached to Krishna. You can't enter into transcendence. You can't offer service, transcendental service to the Lord without having become free of your material desires and your material identification with the body and mind. It's not possible. Material platform, spiritual platform. So divine austerities are absolutely necessary. Daksha understood the program. He had material desires in performing his austerities, but the Lord reciprocates. Anyone who serves him, for whatever reason, he will reciprocate and he will bless them. Is that okay?
Better than okay. Wonderful answer to my question. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thank you, Vijay. Hare Krishna. Good to hear you. You've been very patient with me. Thank you very much. I appreciate your association, your attentiveness in Bhagavatam class, the nice example you set in your devotional service. Srila Prabhupada ke, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ke, Samaveda Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki.